With D23 around the corner, there's a lot to talk about that, She-Hulk, and a lot more on today's episode of the Geek Watch podcast.
This is the Geek Watch podcast with Brian Hatcher and Mandy Petrie.
Greetings, Geek Watchers, and welcome to episode 163 of the Geek Watch podcast. I'm Brian Hatcher, and with me, as always, Geek Watch's own resident geek goddess, Mandy Petrie.
Hello, Brian.
Lots to talk about, lots to look forward to, but before we get started, we do have to do our in memoriam. We just found out about this today. We're recording on Thursday. Queen Elizabeth has passed away. Not necessarily geek news, but obviously the royal family has played in a lot of fiction and fantasy over the years. I remember, of course, the first season of Doctor Who with David Tennant, and when they went back in time and there was talk about werewolves. And,
yes.
And of course, all the times the Queen's speech would appear on Christmas episodes and things like that. As a matter of fact, David Tennant's last episode, before he regenerated, was like the two-parter. The first part of it had the Queen's Christmas speech in it.
I can remember, I think it was the Titanic episode, and they never showed her face, but he made a call and he said like something like Buckingham Palace, please, and then you see feet running up the stairs and two corgis running behind them, and we obviously knew, oh, that's the Queen. The thing about this, this is going to affect the entire world, regardless of your feelings for the royal family, good, bad, ugly, wonderful. This 70 years reigning and a 98-year-old woman, she's something that everyone has looked at for many years, and so the world will go into mourning and then also in celebration. We're going to have King Charles III now.
Right.
Yeah, I think I need to get a King Charles Spaniel in honor.
He's like, I think King Charles is 78 at this point.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, he's been around for a while. I remember back in the day and all of that.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I do know that he is the oldest person to ascend the throne.
Right.
Yeah.
Because I think his mother, Queen Elizabeth, was one of the youngest, because I think she...
25.
25, yeah.
I know because I watched The Crown.
Of course, of course.
And I tell you, if even 1/10 of The Crown is true, she was one of the most badass ladies ever to walk. She was a mechanic in the war, and she was a huntress, all while having this air about you and that keep calm and carry on. That's what she was known for, and that's what the world saw.
Yeah, certainly she was queen longer than I'd been alive. Queen Elizabeth was the queen for forever, at least for a couple of generations. And so it's going to be really strange not having that stalwart again. But yeah. I also have to mention who also passed away this week was Peter Straub, author Peter Straub. He wrote the wonderful novel Ghost Story that was made into a movie. Amazing writer, and of course, also he wrote The Talisman with Stephen King. He was Stephen King's really like the first author that he ever worked with and collabed with.
Yeah.
And of course, in horror genre, he is like one of the guys. He wrote amazing novels and maybe didn't get the recognition he deserved. People who love horror certainly appreciate it. He was a master of the craft and an inspiration for a lot of people. But certainly that's going to be a loss to be felt. So. But I did want to talk a little bit today about some of my trips back to the movie theater, because I made a couple of trips.
A long trip.
One long trip because I had to go to Columbus to see Jaws. And I saw it twice.
Yes.
I saw it in IMAX and I saw it in 3D. So here's what was that takeaway? Here's the takeaway. Sometimes movies are good just because they're good. And like a great steak, cooked seasoned, you don't have to put a bunch of steak sauce
on it.
No ketchup on it, no A1 steak sauce, you don't need to do that. And Jaws, for me, is one of those movies. It's an incredible film. So does IMAX and 3D really add to it?
No.
No, not really. Now, there were some decent scenes in 3D that were cool. The Ben Gardner scene, I'll just call it the Ben Gardner scene in case somebody hasn't seen it.
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert, there's a Ben Gardner scene. But that was cool, and there were some moments where the 3D really was cool, but did the movie need it? Not really. The IMAX, what surprised me, IMAX was such a disappointment.
Really? Aww.
It was I was surprised how disappointed I was.
Oh, no.
Because, well, couple.
You drove 18 hours to go see it. Oh.
Technically, it was only like about 6 back and forth. So, but yeah, the problem with the IMAX cut of it, the movie itself was great, but because of the different aspect ratio, the length and the width of the screen, an IMAX screen is obviously a heck of a lot bigger, but it's not proportionally as wide as a regular screen. So
You almost had to letterbox IMAX?
Yes.
Oh,
they did. Yeah. Most time when things are shot in IMAX.
Right. Turn the film, like when you used film, you turn the film sideways.
Yeah. With IMAX, normally, because I'll give you an example, like for Doctor Strange. When I saw Doctor Strange in regular format in IMAX, the IMAX, you got to see everything that you saw in the regular. There was just a little bit more extra at the top and the bottom because it was shot with IMAX cameras.
Right.
Now, of course, Jaws wasn't shot with IMAX cameras.
Yeah.
So to make it fit on that screen, first of all, they basically had to cut the ends off of it so it fits. And they didn't remaster the print, so it was grainy as all get out. It felt like, and I'm not even exaggerating, I felt like I was watching a drive-in movie. The print was so dark, it was grainy, and honestly, I could have sat at home and watched my Blu-ray version of it that looked so much better. I'm not saying that I'm upset that I went. I enjoyed the trip, and getting to see stuff in IMAX is always cool because it's big, and they did
Maybe the drive-in would have been more fun because you would have had the drive-in experience.
Yeah.
Yes, the movie's bad. Yes, the sound's bad, but you're in a drive-in and you're eating the food and you're sitting in the back of your truck and stuff like that.
But to be fair, Jaws, a grainy, cropped off Jaws is still a great film, but IMAX didn't really make it any better. But I can say that I've seen it, so there you go. I also saw the re-release of Spider-Man No Way Home.
Yeah.
And they've added stuff to it. There's a bunch of interesting scenes at the school that get added, and there's some back and forth between the Spider-Men that was really cool that we got to see.
I would like to see that.
Oh, yeah. I will say, of course, is that you saw the original. You saw it when it originally came out, and you know that the end credit scene, the far end credit scene, was basically a trailer for Multiverse Madness.
Oh, is that where Brock's in the bar?
No, that was the mid credit scene. The actual end scene was the trailer for Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. That's how they ended it.
Okay.
And obviously, there's no point in putting that out.
They got a new one?
Yes. It made me so sad.
Oh, no.
It doubled down on the theme of the end of the movie.
That Peter's all alone now?
Oh, yeah. Do you want me to tell you?
Yeah, I don't mind.
It's out there. So basically, it's Betty Brant doing the last video, the school news video, and talking about the senior class, and they start showing scenes from the first movie and the second movie when they went to Washington, when they went overseas, and Peter's not in any of them. It's like they filmed them without having Tom Holland that they were going to do this. I have a feeling they did that. But yeah, it was just so obvious that Peter wasn't there. And it was like...
See, I was hoping that there would still be pictures and videos of him somewhere. How else did we fight in Captain America and the Winter Soldier? How else did we... But they'd be like, oh yeah, remember Spider-Man?
Yeah, people remember Spider-Man. They just don't know that's Peter Parker. And they don't remember that Peter Parker exists. Yeah, that was... And especially, like I said, that scene was so poignant because you're like... Wow, you really do notice the fact that Peter's not in any of this. It was crazy. But man, it was really heartbreaking. It's like it's tucked the knife in and twisted it just a little bit more.
Yeah, and like now, when they do start exploring this further, the Avengers that did know who Peter Parker was and Spider-Man, do now they just think that they only knew Spider-Man and they never knew who he actually was?
Yeah.
Do they not remember him taking off his mask? Those are the things that are going through my head stuff, but man, that hurts.
Yeah. Magic is a thing. Yeah.
And we have learned magic is a thing this week, haven't we?
Oh, yes, we have.
And it is something to go to court over.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit of She-Hulk then. Now, you are caught up this time.
Yes, I am.
Yeah, so we can definitely talk about it. Now, last week, I didn't say a whole lot about episode 3, and you've seen episode 3.
Yeah.
And episode 4, we can definitely say, going back to a theme we talked about last week, She-Hulk don't care about them, some people, because they have no problem calling people out and just being, well, like, in episode 3 where they're literally posting comments that are like, yeah, these sound really familiar. They didn't even care. They're like, yeah, they're tearing, they were just tearing into it.
Yeah, we are just going to, every second, we're going to middle finger the toxic fandom.
Yeah, they just do not care. They're going to poke the bear, and they just constantly did that. And
this is like, it's feeding the trolls, but I don't know, feeding them like cat litter or something.
Yeah, and here's the thing, and I don't want to spend a lot of time on this, but it seemed like this last week or so, this little small group of dude bros have been going off on everything that they can go off on. Whether it was the prequel to Lord of the Rings, going back and saying nasty things about Sandman.
The boys.
The boys, yes. I remember you telling me about that. I didn't even know about that.
It's like they all got together, and said, hey, let's attack everything.
They just have been going off. And again, it's like what we talked about last week. There's not a lot of them, but they're scared, and now they're just dive bombing everything.
Doubling down, oh yeah.
Yeah, it's just crazy. It seemed like every 5 minutes something else was getting roasted, and then somebody on the other end of it had something very clever to basically burn that stuff down.
Oh, these great, yeah. One was Eric Kripke really got on Twitter and just cussed him out. We don't want you. You just stop watching. We don't care for you. I don't care if you watch or not. You just shut up and leave us alone. I love that. Well, and then you told me about Neil Gaiman?
Neil Gaiman. Basically, somebody was complaining about dark-skinned hobbits, and he jumped in and said, those are in the book. And their comment back was, no, those weren't black hobbits. Those are tanned white hobbits. It got to a point, I don't even know if you saw this picture, but it got to a point where I saw that somebody on TikTok had created a shirt that had a bunch of elf ears, but they were all different colors.
Yes.
And in Elfish, it said, all are welcome. Mm-hmm. And there was a picture of Elijah Wood and a couple of other actors who played hobbits. I can't remember who it was, but they were all wearing the shirt.
And Sean Astin had a hat on that had him. Yeah, it was great, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
What was the one you said about someone asks Neil Gaiman to stop? Oh, no, it was Lord of the Rings.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. Was it Lord? Okay,
it was Lord of the Rings, and it was Neil Gaiman. Somebody was complaining about Neil Gaiman getting all woke on Lord of the Rings, and he says, okay, I understand how hurt you are by this, and so I'm not going to write anything else for the Lord of the Rings. So I think maybe you were upset about Sandman, maybe, is what you actually meant.
Or American Gods. It's been a few years since American Gods had the same, same thing. They're like, what? Shadow Moon? A Native American character is being played by a Native American?
What are you doing, man? Yeah, it's been really weird. And the thing about it is, going back to She-Hulk, they have very much leaned into it.
That's great.
They're like, we know what you're going to say because you're that predictable, so we're going to goof on you constantly about it. Since you're going to hate it anyway, we might as well have some fun.
And they're so prophetic with it. It's like it happens, and then the next episode, there it is.
Yeah, I love the reference on today's episode about Twitter armor.
Yes.
Maybe we get Twitter armor for a week, and I'm like,
hey, you guys look happy? Oh, you're excited about one. Okay, yeah. It's like we have Twitter armor.
For at least a week. But, yeah, She-Hulk fever has struck everywhere, including TikTok. I know you love TikTok because you're on it all the time. But TikTok, the popular filter now is the She-Hulk filter.
I haven't seen this.
Oh, yeah. So basically, you turn the filter on, and it greens you up. And, of course, when I first saw it, the thing that popped into my head, and maybe I'm telling on myself a little bit about this, but the first thing I thought was somebody made an Elphaba filter.
Yeah.
I like Wicked. You know.
I was thinking Gamora. Yeah, because unless it beefs you up, then that's the Hulk. If it's just you and green, you're Elphaba, you're...
Yeah, I thought, then I realized, of course it's She-Hulk. I'm like, I'm probably the only person who thought Elphaba, but no, I wasn't, which is awesome. So I'm not the only weirdo in the world. That's good to know.
Oh, now I really want to see Jennifer Walters turn into She-Hulk and then karaoke Defying Gravity.
Oh,
gosh, I want to see that now.
Yeah, anything is possible at this point. Possible. So what have you thought about the last two episodes, episode 3 and episode 4?
I can't even say enough great things about it. Gosh, I love everything about it. And Megan Thee Stallion, God bless you. In the credit scene where she said, I would kill for you. Yes, we all would. Megan Thee Stallion must be protected at all costs.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, it's great. Oh, like it's hard to pull out anything specific. Today's episode with the magicians, though. That was so clever.
I do need to talk about this because although I've been somewhat gleeful about the fact that certain groups have been attacked. It doesn't feel so good when I'm being attacked, damn it.
As a magician
Not all
yourself.
magicians, damn it. Not all magicians. Yeah, well, unfortunately enough magicians. So, and the thing about it is this guy performs at the Mystic Castle. It's like, okay, I know what you're talking about. Yes, there is a magic castle in L.A. Yes, it's a thing. I know what you're doing. You're not... Fine.
But yeah, it's great. Come on, and just how offended they got when they're like, "It's not real magic." And I'm sure the magician and you cringed at that too, right?
The thing about it is, a lot of that performance style, I have seen it. Now, I've seen a lot of amazing magicians that don't act that way and are incredible. But unfortunately, they're not the ones who get the attention. You always go for the negative, so it's always that.
The Job Bluth.
Now, of course, a lot of people were ticked off. The thing about it is, the magician was a troll for a bunch of reasons. Because there was a leak that Johnny Blaze was going to be in She-Hulk.
Yeah.
The ghostwriter. It's no, it's Donnie Blaze, the magician. And so it was a complete, utter troll.
Now, was that ever a character, Donnie Blaze, or did they create Donnie Blaze
No, they
for
create.
the show?
No, there's no Donnie Blaze. There's Johnny.
Soon. Oh, soon. He'll be on those comic book pages soon.
Oh.
He's terrible. He's awful. He's great. Love him. He makes such good fodder and such good drama.
Yeah,
He's got to be that anti-hero who's only a hero accidentally. He accidentally saves someone. I want to see more of Donnie Blaze. I'm ready for it.
Oh, yeah. Again, it was like a major troll because everybody thought, oh, this must be Johnny Blaze. We're going to get the ghostwriter in She-Hulk. And it's, nope, we just messed with you. And when he goes, Donnie Blaze, everybody was like, son of a... Yeah.
It also felt very Leroy Jenkins to me. You're just shouting your own name. Yeah. Leroy Jenkins and Donnie Blaze after every every illusion. Oh, and Madison with 2 D's and a Y, but it's not where you think. Love her and Wong.
Oh, yeah.
Gosh, we need more of her, too.
Yeah, her and Wong together, that was wonderful.
Spoiling.
The
I never watched The
Sopranos.
Sopranos, but the fact that she's spoiling it for him. Oh, this poor little monk.
Poor thing. Yeah, I know. It was like she's only doing that.
Oh, and the dating apps. That's exactly what,
you
go through and...
Oh, yeah. And it's real, like I said, what was really interesting about the dating app side of it, it's Jen learned that it really didn't matter what she looked like. It just changed the type of problem that she had.
Yep.
So it was like, you just had a different class of weirdo. So,
yep.
But, and I did want to talk a little bit about episode 3 because we couldn't really talk about that too much. But that scene at the end where she gets attacked.
Yeah.
And the thing about it is, she's She-Hulk. And so you don't really think about it too much. But then you realize there's this moment she's terrified until she realizes, wait a minute, I can handle this.
Yeah.
Which puts her in a situation that she'd never really been in before and that most women never get to be in, which is, I can take care of this. This is not going to end badly for me. And that idea that there was this switch that flipped on, and then that moment when she looks into the window and sees a reflection, which I believe was the first time she'd ever seen herself as She-Hulk.
Ooh, I'm going to have to go back and watch.
Because she never really looked in a mirror. I think this was like the first, to me, this was like the first time that I think that she looked at herself as She-Hulk, and you started to see maybe how, and you're starting to see it more now of how these aren't like two different things. She realizes, wait a minute, this is me.
Yeah.
This isn't this Hulk thing that I can become. This is a part of me. And I think that's like the first step to a lot of it. The other part of it, too, is, of course, it's not a Marvel show if I don't come up with a theory that's not going to pan out.
Okay.
My theory that's not going to pan out, because I don't believe this is the route they're going to go, but there was a lot of discussion about who this mysterious boss was. And the way that they set that up as a mystery was it felt like, okay, this should be somebody you know. But who could this be? And there's been a lot of speculation online about who this villain's going to be. Maybe it's somebody we've seen before. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's somebody they're going to introduce new that we don't know. And I started to think about this. And I'm like, well, if this was somebody that we were introduced before, then who could this possibly be? Who would be interested? And this is my theory. And like I said, as you well know, my track record when it comes to theories, I don't suspect that this will be any different. I suppose basically in the end we'll find out that the boss is a rescue helicopter.
Yes.
But this was my theory. So I started to look at, first of all, the Wrecking Crew, the 4 guys that have the Asgardian stuff. Now, they didn't look like these were people who had powers for very long. They were rather noob. And they didn't strike me as anybody who could rip off an Asgardian construction worker. I have a feeling somebody might have done that for them and gave them those weapons.
Okay.
And then I started to look at Titania. And, of course, she's playing into the show more as we go along, and she's going to be a centerpiece to the show as it goes along. And I thought that we don't know that much about her, but I was starting to wonder if maybe we haven't made a wrong assumption about her, which is that she's a person with superpowers who decided to take those superpowers and become a social media influencer. What if she was someone who wanted to be a social media influencer and thought that the best way to do that and to go viral was to get superpowers? How would somebody go about getting superpowers in the Marvel Cinematic Universe? At one time, if you had money and you had influence, you'd buy a plane ticket to Madripoor and you go looking for Sharon Carter, a.k.a. the Power Broker.
Oh, yeah.
Now, not saying that's what Titania did, and very likely she didn't, because after all, this is my theory. But her power set does seem a lot like a super soldier, doesn't it?
Okay, yeah.
Because she's strong and she's durable and all of that. So
Right.
her power set feels very much like a super soldier. So, yeah, it's possible maybe sometime in the past when Sharon Carter still had access to the super soldier formula, she gave some to Titania. And in the comics, Titania happens to be created in a lab. So that's very possible that you could go that route. Now, here's the thing. Of course, Sharon Carter has now been reestablished as an agent. We saw that in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. And so she's rebuilding her business, even though, of course, she's lost access to the super soldier serum. But just imagine she's watching the news and she sees an old client of hers get her ass handed to her by the She-Hulk. It's not that far of a stretch to think, hey, if I can figure out how this She-Hulk works, if I can get a sample of her blood and reverse engineer how this works, not only am I back in the super soldier business, but I've got a better product I can charge more for if you can figure it out. Makes perfect sense to me. Are they going to go down that road? Probably not, because again, it's me who came up with it. But what I thought was interesting about this theory is I would have thought somebody else would have thought that. But I haven't heard anybody else online even talk about this. I've heard a lot of really good guesses and I've heard a lot of speculation, but it surprised me that nobody thought about the Power Broker. And I wondered if maybe when I first thought about that, maybe this is the Power Broker, I thought, nah, that's too obvious. And maybe it's not too obvious. But again, I guess we'll find out. Now, if I happen to score a home run on this, I will celebrate because, they don't come along often. But I just thought it was really weird that nobody had actually thought of that. It never occurred to anybody, which was just weird. So.
Yeah, see, I thought maybe they would end up tying it into Loki Season 2 because now the Doctor Strange has experience with the multiverse, and then there's Wong messing around with these multiverses and sending demons and stuff back and forth, and the Asgardian armor, whatever it was. Maybe this is one way of Loki trying to find his way out of the Bureau. We'll see.
Yeah, there's a lot we're going to find out, hopefully, in the next few days, because starting tomorrow, we get D23, which is Disney's big convention where they start revealing stuff. Now, they showed some trailers and things at San Diego Comic-Con, which, by the way, one of the reasons, going back to when I was talking about going to see Jaws on IMAX, even though I didn't enjoy watching, I didn't think that Jaws really benefited from IMAX. Seeing a Wakanda Forever in IMAX, it certainly, in fact, did benefit. Yeah. Seeing Black Adam in IMAX, seeing the IMAX trailer for Black Adam was amazing. And seeing Moonage Daydream in IMAX makes me want to basically kidnap you and drag you to Columbus because, of course, Moonage Daydream is the David Bowie movie. And it looked amazing.
Yes. So is this our Walk the Line, our Elvis Presley? Are we getting a biopic or?
Yes, it's going to include a lot of footage of Bowie that's never been seen anywhere else.
Okay, so it's more documentary style?
There's some documentary stuff in it. It looks amazing. Yeah. And the fact that it is going to be released in IMAX and it looks amazing in IMAX, that's going to be worth a trip back. And Moonage Daydream is one of my favorite Bowie albums.
Yes.
Which, of course, I have sitting in my vinyl collection. Incredible album. But going
Ziggy.
back to
Ziggy.
a lot of Ziggy Stardust in this.
Yep, because like I see, spoiler alert, Jamie Bauer on Stranger Things, and the more I see of him, I think, oh, he needs to play David Bowie, and if that be a David Bowie biopic, or if they do a movie version of Ziggy Stardust's story, Alien Messiah coming to Earth, which, yay.
Yeah.
Frankenfurter and The Man Who Fell to
sure.
Earth, we love them all. That's what I would enjoy that either way. But
I would definitely have to check that out. But D23 is this week, and there's a lot of rumors about a lot of things. I don't even want to speculate on anything, although some of the things I've been hearing have been crazy stuff. But you know how Kevin Feige is. He always has to keep something up his sleeve for D23. And you always want to go out with a lot of excitement. And so whatever it is, we'll definitely be checking out, and we'll definitely talk about it next week. But
we shall see.
And so with that said, we come to the end of episode 163. Thank you for listening, and tune in next time for the latest in geek news and views with the Geek Watch podcast. For Mandy Petrie, this is Brian Hatcher, reminding all the Geek Watchers out there, we're all geeky about something. Be proud of yours. See you next time.
Thank you for listening to the Geek Watch podcast. If you enjoyed this program, don't forget to like and subscribe on your preferred platform and share this podcast on your social media. For links to all the ways you can listen to the Geek Watch podcast, as well as leave comments and suggestions, visit our website at geekwatch.net. The Geek Watch podcast is a Hanging J production.